Oi, 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 this is Cody.
And this is Manuel.
Welcome to lesson number.
1. First
Yeah,
lesson.
that was not even practice and it worked. I'm
Yeah.
quite surprised. Um, so the course starts today with the most serious stuff. Serious means fun and we will break a lot of stuff. Um, so to get started, first of all, what tea do you drink?
Oh, my
Come on,
favorite.
Manuel.
Today's my favorite tea. Uh,
Yeah?
Fresh from the fridge. um,
That's how you store tea.
yeah,
Everyone here,
it's
like
important.
that is a great example. Like if you love your tea, it's in the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's fresh from the fridge. It's the first tea I ever drank, the first green tea, when I started drinking tea more regularly. So it's Anjou and
Uh-huh.
I
Awesome.
Anjou. It's spelled ENSHIYULU,
Yeah.
and I was in China and I asked for that tea because I wanted to have that kind of tea bought from myself in China directly. So just a simple reminder from that journey there. And I just spelled the name completely wrong. So I said something like
Me too.
Enchi Yulu. And she said, "What? We don't know that." Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I should even be able to spell it, but even I can't. I don't know why. It's so creeping me out.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, nice,
But
nice one.
it's great, yeah. And you?
I got today. Where's my camera? Oh yeah, here. I got pu'er,
Oh, nice,
which is
nice.
like the strongly fermented one. Last time I had the raw pu'er, which is basically just the green version, unprepped. This one is fermented, and the first time I got it from
Oh.
someone, I thought they pranked me with tobacco to give me tobacco to drink because it just smells exactly like so strongly fermented like tobacco. And then
Okay.
in the end, though, I figured out it's a real thing. But it has just been surging. I figured out also from 2000 on, and before
Okay.
they mostly drank the unfermented version, which is, by the way, really beautiful. It has a very, I don't know, edges in the taste, very rough. I really
Hmm.
love that, like rock tea, similarly. So yeah, if you ever get some like whiskey, drink some pu'er. Usually you don't get the raw pu'er, you get just the fermented black one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then let's get started with our tutorial.
Yeah.
Now is the first lesson today, package management. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah. Let's bring it on.
Okay. Okay. So the thing is, most of you will simply have used Python and with scripts, and sometimes you install stuff, but there are package management is basically one of the fundamentals is how not only to build a Python package, of course, that's the deal, but also how to ensure that if you hand over that script to someone or that package, that someone has the same dependency and that stuff. I put it into a lot of fancy text here, but basically the thing is, a Python package and development environment are strongly coupled because the dependencies which the Python package needs should also be in a separate virtual environment usually. So you don't develop like what in the beginning. What I did is I had Python on the system and installed all the fun in it. Yeah, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
the S word too much. Um, and that spoiled me totally because then sometimes someone gave me something and it messed up my environment more and some incompatibilities and stuff, and it broke my whole Python environment. It was super annoying.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that there are different ways to create virtual environments in which you just have these separate packages for this one use case.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that kind of helped me a lot. So stuff didn't break all the time when I swapped between applications and stuff. So yeah, development environment and package management or packaging are closely chained together. I don't
Hmm.
know how to say it differently. Um, but you know that, and there are a ton of these. Most of you will know Conda. That's pretty neat. You can do even also stuff beyond Python. I
Hmm.
used it for different stuff like Node.js even too.
Hmm.
Pipenv, Poetry, the vanilla venv. Venv is basically just for Python virtual environments. But for example, Poetry and Pipenv use that underneath too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like there's a billion of those, and they use each other, and some has more, and some have a little bit different focus. And I could go on years telling you what who did and who's what better and whatsoever. And if you're interested in that stuff, figure it out yourself. But I really don't bore you with this pro contra game, because you will just get lost and just, yeah, I don't know, not have a good sleep now. Yeah. Which ones have you used, Manuel, so far from these here?
So I think the first way I did go is the Conda,
Yeah.
because what I was thinking about, well, I used Python also in my work life, right? And then I developed some scripts for analyzing data, stuff like I don't know, NumPy, for example. And I didn't want that everybody had to install NumPy, whatever. So I just made him install Conda, the full package.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice
Full
mistake,
2
right?
gigabytes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right. I even had a discussion on Reddit about this with the owner, because Conda then somehow got to me and said, you don't have a license for that, so you should pay. And I thought, what the fuck? Conda's not free. And then I just wrote a post on Reddit on if Conda is free or not. And it seems to be free for small businesses, which our business is having all the criteria met for it. And so we are continuing to use Conda because everybody has it now installed. But yeah, it's quite a hassle because, yeah, I mean, it takes a while to install all those packages. But yeah, so I used Conda, and this, Conda, and I mean, Conda comes with a full set of tools, right? If you install Conda, you have also, I think, Jupyter installed already, and some guys have.
If you go for Anaconda, important, there's mini Conda and there's
Yeah,
Anaconda. Conda
right.
itself is just a package manager.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And mini Conda is the smallest version, which we usually use in CI/CD pipelines from time to time.
Yeah.
Anaconda, of course, is the big one, which really is the 1.5 gigabytes felt, like really big thing.
Yeah. So I made everybody install that. But
why 80 megabytes if it could be
it could be less, yeah. And even then, I think my script already did require something extra, which was not installed. So well, you could have managed it either way, but yeah. So Conda, I was using that, and I think pipenv, is that the same thing as the pip installer?
No, actually
it's not related.
No.
Okay, then I never used pipenv, but I used Poetry, which I love, and venv, I used venv too. So I think I was using venv, and then I got mad at venv, and then I switched to Poetry, and life was fine until now. So this is my journey through the package managers.
Yeah, pipenv is a bit its own thing. It was for a long time not maintained anymore, but they actually picked the slack up again. Why I don't like it is it's rather slow. Like when I used it the last time and tried it, it was pretty slow, so I didn't go forward with it anymore.
Yeah.
Most important for all of you is, most of you will ask yourself which of any solution you should use. I mean, you can start with any you like, but if you want to have an easy and quick way into professional Python, I wrote here rule of thumb: use Poetry for almost everything. You will be really happy with it. It's so beautiful, so simple, so straightforward, and well contained.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job at what it does.
Yeah.
For everything else, usually the only problem is for data science, for example, when you install a lot of binaries. I mean, the Python libraries are not pure. Sometimes they depend under the hood on some binaries, some math kernel libraries or whatsoever. Then you're better off with Conda, because Conda can actually load those too. Be aware of the license issues Manuel just pointed out, but for that's basically the rule of thumb we also have in our working environment. Conda for usually data science stuff and whatsoever, but by default we go with Poetry,
Yeah,
and
right.
it works really well. And the task this time, or the lesson, is now for you to integrate Poetry. So this is what the first lesson is about. You could also go for, like I said, any of the other, but poetry is rather unknown in the public environment, which I'm really surprised because it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
But
Seems strange.
yeah, it feels really strange because in the professional environment, I cannot imagine living without it. No
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah.
Like it does such a good job. I don't know why more. I don't know other, like I see blockchain projects and whatever. All of it never uses poetry or something. Always the vanilla stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then let's move forward.
Yeah.
What did you love about poetry, Manuel,
Oh,
when
I
you tried it?
think, yeah.
What caught you?
The first thing was that you have a really, really simple process of setting it up. So, right, you just init your new virtual environment, and then you're getting a nice CLI tool which just asks you about what packages do you want to use. And then that you are also able to easily get the different dependencies, the running dependencies and the develop dependencies differently was quite cool. I think, I'm not sure, but I think Venv doesn't do that easily. You
Not at all.
could have
Yeah.
files for it, but then you want to switch from one to another, and you never have them in one file, just by a flag differentiated. So
Yeah.
I love that about poetry, and also how it's generated, and the file is really readable, and the versions are clear. So yeah, I just got hooked, I have to say. It was
Yeah,
really nice.
the easiness caught me too. For those who don't know it yet, what's really nice about it is if you use it, you just initiate it in your project with poetry in it, and it will create a few files. Maybe I can show it. Let me quickly check. Here we have it in the repository. It creates a pyproject.toml and a poetry.log. And then it's ready to go. Really simple then. The file does not look very complicated. It's documented what's your dependencies. They also have something called dev dependencies, which are libraries you need to use during development, but not for installation.
Yeah.
Something typical is, for example, a linter or a formatter. You want to have everyone have the same version of that in your project from your developers, but you don't want it as a direct dependency. Really nice that they it's all there, that you understand it, and then you can basically start cracking and work with it. So it's really easy to get started on it generally. Just run poetry in it and you have these files, and then you go. So it's as simple as it sounds. And what I really like is when you run then the first commands like poetry build. Maybe I can quickly display. So
Oh yeah, the build option. That's a great option too. Yeah.
yeah, or you want to run the code. So maybe I quickly show the code. It's pretty simple code. It's a package here called Death Star from no, it's not from some famous movie,
Oh.
which has one file in it called laser, and of course it can fire at planets. Definitely not from famous movies. No copyright issues here, please.
No.
That happens in a lot of movies, so we're safe, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly, and you want to run it. And for example, I have here my shell in the folder, not directly exactly. And I want to now run the package. Okay, so I just start my Python shell, and then from destar.laser import fire. And you see, okay, I actually get an error here because it misses something which I import, which is called rich. It's another library for printing.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing which is a bit odd about poetry. I want all to warn you is it doesn't work so straightforward. What you need to do is you need to always do poetry run, and then you execute something in the environment, for example, like poetry run Python. Then you're running it in this virtual environment, which is behind. And if there's no virtual environment, it creates it, which is really nice, by the way. And then you can do the same. You can simply import the function and then fire at Alderan, and pew pew, it's firing at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it works. Why? Because in this virtual environment, it's all already set up. Where's the virtual environment? Usually, there are two cool things also about this. You can put it right here beneath your source code. There would be a folder.venv, but that's not where your system usually puts it, because that's bad practice. For every operating system, there's always a cache folder. On my Linux, as similar to the Windows, by the way, is it in the home directory under .cache. Okay, and in that you can find a lot of cache from applications. PyPoetry exactly is the right one. That was a lucky guess. I would have searched for a while, because for me it's really huge. And there you can see there are the virtual environments from multiple projects, and there's the Death Star environment. I think I experimented a lot with it in different directories here. So that's also cool. I have it during the course in 4 or 5 directories, because there are more lessons, and it already also keeps up the track that it does not use the same environment for all the steps. Really cool.
Yeah.
So that's about it. But you can also get into this poetry run. Is always a bit annoying.
Yeah.
That's super annoying. You can also do poetry shell. Wait, I need to go into the project again. Exactly. I can also do a poetry shell. And then I'm also in this virtual environment. You see here, I got notified about it. Spawn a shell within this path. And then I'm in, and now I can just do Python as usual. And don't need to do fancy stuff. Why is this important? Because if you have dev dependencies, as you will see later when we do linting and stuff, those dev dependencies are also just available in the poetry run commands inside.
Yeah.
But I really like it in a way. Some people don't like it because they type it a lot, but we will show you how to avoid that too. But yeah, I don't know. I really love that, actually. This having this virtual environment automatically managed for me, and I don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's less mental overhead. Yeah, I like that too.
Definitely.
But this poetry shell or poetry run, that got me quite a few times, because in Visual Studio Code, right, you have this conda environment installed, and then it's already telling you base at the beginning of your terminal. And then I closed the terminal and started it back again, and then I had .venv, and I just wasn't sure if that's a mistake of conda or is something else. Then the code didn't work. I got pissed, but in the end it was just me missing the poetry run or poetry shell command. So
yeah, you can secret trick. You can do a select interpreter in VS Code, and then you can usually select it here.
Yeah, but that was the right one, and still in the terminal it was base. And that was what strange, freaked me out. Yeah, but I think poetry, to just know that if you want to have poetry commands or poetry, if you want to be in your poetry environment, you have to just use a poetry shell. Yeah, that saves you. So it's quite easy once you know that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe a few major infos. How do you do a script to a Python package? I mean, you already saw it. You just need this pyproject.toml, which has basically the general information. This is specific to poetry, a log file. A log file simply says which dependencies are installed at which versions. And that's really helpful, because then if your user install it, I had that often with my old package management system, the vanilla one from Python. Yeah. That people installed it and they had a different dependency of some other dependency.
Yeah.
And that really, really killed me. And I left a too wide bandwidth of those dependencies too, you know? And then I had always to figure out, okay, what did you install and what's the fourth? And I am really happy about log files, because they really lock down the dependencies narrowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't have that problem anymore. If it runs for you, you can be sure if it's not an operating system issue or something, they will have the same packages for that. Super. And last but not least, of course, you cannot use your script just itself. You need to create a package folder and then put in, very important, this file, which marks it as a package.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't need to be anything inside. And then, this file here. And this is really bad that I did it. This should never happen. I actually committed the PyCache. This is something generated on the fly. And I know why. I don't have a git ignore.
Git ignore, yeah.
Yeah. Right slapped. Like, don't do this at home. This is such a good lesson to learn. Like, if your colleague does that, you go to him and tell him.
Yeah. You bet I will use that in a future exercise, and you have to find it.
At least it's not secrets,
Yes, yeah, right.
A file with secrets, yeah.
Well, I actually committed the secret, right? I really did. We did our code review, right? And I just was so excited to do all the changes, and went on and did that and put out the git ignore and whatever, and then I committed the API key. Had to deactivate it as soon as possible.
So quick, man.
So
quick. It's dangerous as hell.
Yeah, that's really dangerous.
Okay, so this is a bit, so you have some info. We are a bit chit-chatting, but we want you to know a bit about left and right, not just frontal exercise. So some might be annoyed a bit by this style we teach, but we like to have more conversation and to tell a little bit in between lines, because you can read this stuff yourself. You're smart people. So this is not what it's about, Then, I won't say much, but with Poetry Add, you can install additional packages and all of that stuff. If you add minus def, the German coming through. Do it as a def dependency. We'll see that in another lesson. And that will then, add your dependencies here to the TOML file. Maybe the last one, which is important, is how do you publish this stuff usually? Okay, so if you build your Python code, I think I need to quickly get my file browser for that. If you build your Python code, it's usually built in two things, you could call it, or two files in the end. First of all, if you run, I can rerun it quickly so you see it too. I'm here. If you run poetry build, then it will build your package, and that's it. You don't even need to think about it. And this will create a dist folder, which stands for distribution, obviously. Not distance, not dystopian, though sometimes it's quite dystopian. There you have two files. Usually you have these two files if you don't build binaries. One is the WHL, which is a wheel called Python wheel. This is usually the famous one. And this is the source code, the sdist. It's called source distribution. What happens is, why do you have two? Sometimes you upload the source code. For example, I have one package, my most popular one, with C code or C++ code inside. So in this one is then basically bundled the C++ code, and in this one is the C++ code already compiled for certain platforms, for example. Okay, so that's why you have both. So in case then later people try to install the compiled version, they don't find it, they at least have the chance to install the source code version, but then they will get slapped by the compiler like, dude, like I'm missing some libraries on this system, that ain't right here. But at least they have a chance, to still install it, even though their system is not compatible with my compiled version.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just that you understand it. And these ones you just upload, and when you do pip install, then it installs these. Where do you upload? Actually, in companies, you have usually something. We have something called an Artifactory from JFrog, but it exists in all shapes and sizes and cloud solutions. But to say it simply, you have some storage system somewhere and it uploads these files, and pip figures out that you can then download them. You can point also with pip install. There is something called index URL as an argument. I'm really not multitasking. Like, this is so horrible for me always, but it's a good exercise. Yeah, you have an argument usually, which is called either extra index URL or index URL if you just want to search there. And then what it does is it installs these packages just from these URLs, and that could be then some other thing than the public PyPi. Most of you will work with PyPi, I guess, too, if you do some open source. So if you run just pip install, where is it going? To this website here, basically, and searches here for the project which you want to install, and then it goes for it and installs it. So that's basically that you understand a bit how the distribution mechanism works, and a little bit in between the lines how this stuff works. Did you know the difference between wheels and this sdist here?
No, actually not. I saw the wheel
really
everywhere,
cool.
but I didn't even know what it really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes sense for compiled languages like C or C++ that you have the compiled version also there for easier install.
Yeah, especially, you have packages like TensorFlow, you have
Yeah,
packages like NumPy.
they need those. Yeah, sure.
And let's see. And you see they have also the sdist.
Yeah.
And then they have a lot of precompiled distribution file versions.
Different versions,
compatibilities, Mini Linux, and whatsoever. They try to really provide it thoroughly for different platforms.
That build process, though, that must be also a pretty big one.
No, you don't wanna witness that.
Yeah, the fear of not compiling.
No, that thing, like building build processes for so many systems and all of that, and doing that thoroughly. That is a long time of work. That's not just different options.
Full-time job, yeah, definitely.
I don't know, full-time, but it just takes time. Which usually I don't have in my spare time.
Yeah. But just to make sure that I understand it correctly, so PyPi is hosting all the files uploaded to there. So they are hosting the source code and maybe also compiled versions of your code. And if you do a pip install, it's actually just downloading, for example, the source code into your virtual environment that you're being able to use it in that kind of environment, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. There's also quite interesting a website which we will be needing now. I think it's called test-PyPi. Okay. Wrong one. No. Test-PyPi.
Yep.
And it's basically the same thing, but you can test it for that purpose. And that's what it's for. So if any of you want to try uploading a package and don't want to upload it to PyPi directly, which is they don't. I'm not even sure if you can delete old versions of a package, if they even allow it. I'm not sure. I think you can invalidate them, but not delete them.
Okay.
Has been a while that I did it. Usually what I do is I release a version and then I do a post-release. Like, then usually you see version, post 1, post 2, post 3.
Quick fix.
Yeah, we were all there. Maybe not. But yeah, so you can just make an account here. It works exactly the same, and you can upload any nonsense you like. Okay. So if you want to test it, try it out, play around, use test-PyPi, not PyPi itself. Yeah, we can show that also quickly. Basically, what you do is you need to send or set for the PyPi repository here this config option, so it knows, okay, if under the name test-PyPi is associated with this test-PyPi website, obviously. You could also do this for your company repository. Okay, it works the same.
All right,
if you have one.
Yeah.
Then you need to set the token. I definitely won't show mine, but
committed.
You can get it. Yeah, committed. You can just get it from the website in the settings of the user. Easy. What you can then do is you just go there and you can just run this command poetry publish -- build. That means it builds it extra one more time. -r is -repository, and then test PyPi is the name for this one here. We set in the settings config. We get an upload error here, I think, because I'm not able to allow to write to this thing because someone else created it already. So it's not mine. If it would be a unique name, we can quickly check that. Yeah, fortunately, otherwise I would not be able to explain this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically how it works. Yeah, that's about it. Poetry is not complicated. There's not much more to say. Try out and everything. One more thing, a little bit ahead already, is this PyProject.toml will be one of the center points for your whole project. I won't go into detail here because it's on another lesson 3 to be exact. But you can put many more settings in here for like linting and that stuff. And it's really neat. So you have not only later your dev tools here, but also you have then the
dev properties.
You cannot put it for all of them. Not all tools unfortunately support this, but really cool. And with poetry, it's such a breeze. So try it out. Take your script you had before and try to package it like here. Take this as an example and play around a bit. You can also play around a bit with Conda or any of the others if you want to try around. And yeah, also leave a comment in the comment section if you like about what you did, what worked great for you, what you liked. Share. Like there's never a right or wrong answer. There are also preferences, and in certain use cases there's still other solutions good. So never rule anything out. But yeah, this is a good rule of thumb for you to start. pipenv is out. Poetry and Conda. Jesus, that's... Yeah. So far, this has been lesson 1. We also recommend to you, if you need any assistance or help, we have the Discord channel in our description. Simply contact us or write there. Maybe someone else also has time, and sometimes we also hang out there in the voice chat, which I also recommend to you all. Just hang out there, do your stuff, and people know you're around, and then you can also chit-chat a bit on the side and have some fun. And who knows, maybe we get some music running or so. That would be also good. Music also always helps. We do that at work too, with Spotify playlists and stuff like this. Just have fun with the stuff. Play around a bit. And discover how all of this works. Okay.
Yeah, thank you all for being here, for watching. And happy to meet you all on Discord.
Bye-bye.
Bye.